Good morning, students. Today, we are going to be talking about the writing process. And as you can see on the board here, I have some Christmas cookies. And no, they're not up there just because we're on Christmas break, even though if that's what you thought, that's a good guess. But today, we're going to be talking about the writing process. And with that, I have a question. Is your writing as good as a cookie? So I want you guys to think about that as we jump into today's lesson on the writing process. The first step of the writing process is the writer plans. At this step, you're brainstorming, you're gathering your resources and making sure that you have enough research to support your topics. You're compiling all of that, making sure you have the authors, your dates, your names of your books, anything that you need to make your bibliography, your websites, that kind of stuff that you need to be able to finish an essay. You're gathering that together. You're also coming up with your writing tools, whether it be a pen or pencil and paper or a laptop. You're getting all of that stuff ready so that you can find a quiet place and sit down and be ready to write when it is time for you to do that. So once you have planned everything out and you've gathered everything together and you found that spot that's going to be quiet and not interrupt you and you're able to sit down and write, that's what you're going to do. So the next step of the writing process is the writer writes. At this step, you're not going to work sentence by sentence or paragraph by paragraph. You're simply going to take your research and everything that you have in your brain, everything that you've thought about and researched, trying to come up with your materials for your essay, and you're going to just simply write it on your paper or type it on your laptop and get everything out on the page. You're not going to stop and fix your spelling or punctuation or grammar. You're not going to kind of edit as you work through it. You're just simply trying to get everything out on the paper so that when you move on to the next step, you have something solid that you can then work with. So once you have written everything out, you've gotten, if it's a research paper, you've gotten your counter argument or your persuasive essay, gotten all your points in. Once you have that done, then you move on to the next step. And that step is the writer rewrites. At this step, you're not looking at the small little details of what would be in the editing step. You're simply looking at the big picture of your essay. So you're going to look at your introduction. Do you have a good hook to draw the reader into your essay? Do you have that thesis statement at the very last sentence of your introduction that clearly has your 3 points or however many points that you will need for whatever particular class or essay that you are writing? So do you have that clear thesis statement? And then you're going to look, is your points in your thesis statement, the paragraph of each body, is that explaining each point? And you're going to make sure that each of those body paragraphs has their own introduction sentence and concluding sentence with the details in between to support that topic sentence. And you're going to make sure that you have your concluding paragraph, which is going to have your thesis statement rewritten as the first sentence. Remember, the introduction paragraph, your thesis statement is the last sentence, but in your conclusion, it is the first sentence, kind of restating it in your conclusion. And then you are kind of just wrapping up your thoughts and also putting a call to action at the end for your reader. And once you have done that, making sure all your paragraphs flow nicely and everything in your paper is coherent, then you can move on to the last step of the writing process, which is the writer edits. At this step, you are looking for those small little details that are just going to perfect your essay even more. So you're going to go through and check your spelling. You're going to check your grammar, your contractions, your punctuation, making sure that everything is looking good and every little detail is just in line and in order so that you can turn it in and get the best grade that you deserve for the time that you have put in on this essay. And also just a nice rule to remember, it's always great to have someone else read and edit your paper, just because you looking at it and writing it, spending so much time with it, sometimes your brain just kind of skips over some of the errors and doesn't pick up on them. But if you have somebody else read, then most likely they will pick up on some of those small things that you did not see. So that concludes our writing essay. You plan, then you write, then you go back and rewrite, and then you finally do your editing. So with that, I want to draw your attention to this verse, 1 Corinthians 14:40. We follow the writing process because the Bible says to do all things decently and in order. But going back to our first question, is your writing as good as a cookie? As you're making cookies, you have to put in certain things at certain times to make that cookie. Similarly, you have to follow the writing step to have that finished product of a perfect essay. With that, I want you guys to have a great Christmas break.